All right, welcome DoorGrow property managers to the DoorGrow show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing in business and life, and you're open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow property manager. DoorGrow property managers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management business owners and their businesses. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. I'm your host, property management growth expert, Jason Hull, the founder and CEO of DoorGrow. Now, let's get into the show. And today's guest is Bob. Do you say Lachance?
Lachance. Yep. Lachance.
Man, I nailed it. All right.
Yeah.
So, Bob, great to have you on the show. And Bob, you are helping people discover the top marketing channels that can maximize lead generation when working with VAs. And so we're going to chat a bit about that today. Before we get into that, but tell everybody a little bit about you, how you got into entrepreneurism, and what led you to what you're doing now.
Yeah. So right now, I'll just start right now. I have a real estate investment company as well. And I have a virtual assistant staffing company. So I use my VAs in my own business. So I have a rental portfolio as well as a buy, sell, fix, flip company here in Connecticut, doing a couple different states. But I started back about 21 years ago now, back in 2004. I played professional hockey prior to that for 8 years, and then got into real estate. And from real estate, helped start an education program while I was working on properties. Did a lot of fix flip, wholesaling, all that kind of good stuff. This is, again, I'm dating myself, but this is back in 2004. And through the process, when I helped start this education company, there was a huge need in the industry, just like you, right? You see a need out there, and I'm a lot like you on that side of it. I like helping people and figuring out where they could create passive income or income in general. So during the coaching program, while I was in it, I realized there was a huge need. Majority of the students that I coached didn't have the time to actually put into their real estate business because they were either working part-time or full-time, and they just needed to, they needed help. And for years upon years upon years, I was looking for a solution for that. Whether it was a product, I didn't know back then. Again, this is going back from 2007 to 2013. I didn't know there was any services out there like what virtual assistants were. And then I got introduced back in 2013 what a virtual assistant was. And I'm like, you know what? This could help my business. So I hired my first one, and then a light bulb went on. I'm like, you know what? We could turn this into a business. I could take the back end of what I helped create, which is the real estate education company, and our students could use it to help them grow their business, help scale, help get your time freedom back. So launched it in 2014, and then fast forward today, 10 years later, I've been in business for a while, and I also have, like I said, my real estate investment company.
Nice. All right, and so let's get into the topic at hand. So we're going to talk a little bit about leveraging virtual assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did you kind of start doing this yourself?
Yeah. Well, when I first got into this, like I said, I door knocked first. We didn't have the opportunity to have, virtual assistants do some outbound stuff. And I didn't understand, I didn't understand what outsourcing was when I first started. It was just me. I had an individual who was my business partner back in the day, but first year I door knocked. I went from door to door to door, individuals that were behind on payments. So it wasn't the easiest job in the world, but it allowed you to understand how to build a business from ground up. I think that was very, very important back then. So nowadays you could have virtual assistants do that, whether it's, cold calling, whether it's responding to direct mail, whether it's text messaging, whether it's social media, whether it's going out to, Facebook Marketplace and going right direct to seller. You also have rarely used now, Craigslist, of course, but there's different ways to acquire and use your virtual assistant to do that. So that's just, again, a long and short.
So, go ahead and tell people a little bit about your company and what you help people do. And I'm really curious because this is usually a difficult thing for business owners to
Mhm.
outsource. Usually they'll outsource some of the lowest level stuff, and it's usually not towards growth, lead generation, outreach, stuff like
Mhm.
that. Those pieces can be really difficult to get dialed in or to do effectively.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so tell us a little bit about REVA Global.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, we started back in 2014. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. And just to fast forward to what that looks like today, and working with property managers, because obviously the individuals that are on your podcast here, I'll speak to them, because there's a lot of different, and I know, many people that also buy and hold also probably do fix and flip, or also may wholesale, but it's kind of the same
Yeah.
concept. But there's a lot of different tasks within it that virtual assistants can do. So what I did is I broke up all the stuff that our VAs do in my own business, because many individuals that are listening to this will relate to a company like ours, because, like I said, we have a real estate investment company, but we also use our VAs, which I think is pretty cool. I think nowadays it's very, very important, as a service provider like myself, to use it to make sure it works. So I think that's a pretty unique thing that we actually have. But what we do, we have virtual assistants that acquire. We call them like a department of acquisition. So if you're looking for leads, you could do cold calling, you could do text blasting, you could do lead management. Lead management. A lot of us, just like you, will have all these leads in your database, but if you don't get a hold of them the first time, think about your marketing is going to consistently go out. So when
Yeah.
marketing consistently goes out, what we find is all of those leads end up piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up. And if you try to reach out to them the first time, you have a very small percentage that they're actually going to pick up the phone. So you
Right.
need somebody then that will continue to follow up on those leads. And a national statistic is over 70% of all sales never happen on the first touch, right? So you
Sure.
have to continue. And I think that's probably 90 or 95% nowadays. So that's what we find in our office. And I know a lot of our clients say the same thing. So that number could change a little bit depending on what you read. But our experience in our office is over 90%. So what I mean by that is the first touch, whether it's direct mail call or a cold call, whatever you do for direct mail, or whether you do for marketing, that first touch will not um, equate to a contract. So you're going to have somebody
Sure.
that's continuing to follow up with those individuals. Very, very, very important. I wish I would have understood that stat when I first started real estate, but again, you learn over time. Another stuff, if you look at other tasks as well that works very, very well, is marketing, right? Social media management, because you look at any type of business, if you don't have marketing, it's very, very difficult. It's brand awareness, right? People want to do business with people they see, feel, touch, and like. So you need to make sure that you're always, 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 you're out there. You're out in the public's eye. I think that's very important. I know you guys do a great job of that, Jason, on the marketing side of always being out there, because I see in a lot of different places everywhere I'm looking online. So whoever's doing your stuff, man, great job. So you're doing a fantastic job on that side of it. And then you go into leasing. So if we look at property management, driving leads is one thing, but you also have to close them. So if it's you, me, or whoever is the one on the phone locking up those deals, it then goes to, once you own them, you got leasing, you got move in, move out, you have collection, you have evictions, you have maintenance, you have accounts receivable, you have accounts payable, bookkeeping, accounting, et cetera, that fall underneath that property management umbrella. That virtual assistants are phenomenal to actually take on those tasks for you.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the typical process for somebody that could use some help from a company like yours?
Yeah,
How do you engage them? What's
yeah,
onboarding like? How does that work?
yeah. I think for anybody who's looking to scale or looking to just get help in their business, here in Connecticut, it's pretty interesting, because if you're looking to hire someone in house, you start looking at what's going on with the world and like what's going on with the economy. In state of Connecticut, minimum wage is up to $15.69 per hour. So when you start looking at that, I know in my area, if I try to hire someone at minimum wage, they don't have a 4-year college degree. That's just not the highest level individual that you'd want working in your office.
Right.
So now you start looking at those things and what's happening around the country. Virtual assistants are very, very are a big part of anyone's business. My opinion today, I think you got to start looking at that, because small businesses, a lot of times, especially when we are on a tight budget, right? And so for us to start to scale or start to grow or start to hire, we really need to look at what's going out, meaning out of our pocket. So it's very, very important. So first look at, number one, what can we afford as small business owners? If we look at that number,
Right.
now we start looking at what tasks in our business do not put money in our pocket, right?
Right.
And if you look in your world, meaning the property management world, it is a lot of the tasks like leasing, like taking calls from tenants, move in, move outs, eviction process when you're calling attorneys back and forth. What does that look like? There's just a lot of back and forth, right? Maintenance concerns. You get those all the time. And those are the things that burn up your time. Your phone doesn't stop ringing. So if your husband or wife wants to go on vacation with you and your phone doesn't stop ringing, that's going to put a lot of stress and a lot of challenges in your personal life, to where, especially when you continue to grow, you have to put more systems and processes in your business. If you had one house, that's one headache. You had two, that's two headaches. If you have 100, you have 100 potential headaches that, if you don't want to take those headaches on yourself, it's always good to have somebody else take those headaches before it gets to you.
Yeah. Property management can definitely be death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep. But it's
And
very, very
if you get it really well dialed in, though, yeah, it
Mhm.
can be a really great residual income business model.
Very
So,
good. Very good. Well, two sides of it, right?
yeah.
You buy right, you have an equity play there, right? And if you don't have to deal with the headache, you get the positive income, you get tax advantages, things like that. So, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of buying and holding and property management, because over time, the more, like you said, the more properties you actually hold, the bigger your income grows.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. So, so I love this. There's lots of low level tasks. It does get really expensive trying to afford staff and team members, and you don't want the cheapest or lowest level or worst people, in the United States representing your business.
Yep.
And so, sometimes you can get people at a fraction of the price point that have a lot more education, that are a lot better. And so when any of the roles that are able to be done virtually, you open yourself up to a global marketplace rather than just your local city. And so, yeah, so there's definitely advantages. So my entire team are virtual, and I've got team members in various areas: Canada, Philippines, Egypt,
Yep.
gosh, I don't know where else, like all over the place. And I've hired people over the past in just about everywhere. So, yeah. Um, and so I'm not limited. So I'm able to just go find the best.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm able to figure out, okay, what can kind of fit into our budget and what can we afford in order to
Right.
do that?
Right. And to your point, to get back to what that looks like, I mean, anyone in this world could go out and go source for their own candidates. We set up a very unique system process. We have a whole sourcing and recruiting team. All my virtual assistants are in the Philippines. We set up a sourcing and recruiting team out of the Philippines. So they're
Okay.
looking through, thousands of resumes every single month, sifting through, and we're getting the best of the best of those resumes that come in. As soon as they pass, then they go through an interview process. If they pass the interview process, they go to our training team, and they train for about a month on various tasks, property management tasks, lead generation tasks, etc. And then once they actually get to the end of that stage, they do another test. And a lot of individuals do not pass our testing phase. And that's a positive thing, because, that's a way to kind of weed out the individuals that
Filtering.
wouldn't make. Yeah, very good. So
Mhm.
after that goes to our placements team, and our placements team is kind of like match.com. They look at exactly what what the tasks are. And we do disc profiling, things like that, and predictive index. and we look at the tasks that they're good at, and we match them exactly up with the client and the tasks that they're looking for. So, for instance, if someone's looking for a bookkeeper, you're not going to give them a profile that's a sales profile, right?
Sure.
You're gonna give them the correct profile. You put them together, they go through an interview process, and they pick the best candidate that fits within them. So after that, it goes to our operations team. We have what we call a client service manager that helps manage the relationship between you and your VA. So it's very, very, very streamlined. We tried every different business model there is out there, and the model that we have right now seems to be the best model.
Nice. Yeah, I always recommend, if you're a property manager like watching this or listening, if you don't have a really solid hiring process, you have not like tested and vetted and experimented with, then the best initial way to do hiring is to leverage other companies' hiring processes. And
Mhm.
so it's definitely to go and work with a company. And there's lots of different companies I've worked with over the years to get people on my team. But and then eventually we've built a really good process internally. But in the beginning, I do think every business eventually needs their own hiring system. But if you don't have a great, robust hiring system that you can get candidates consistently, that you know are a good culture fit, a good skill fit for the role, a good personality fit for the role, then you need to go leverage somebody else's hiring system. So I would highly recommend, especially if you're going to dabble with VAs, especially in the Philippines or any other area, that you want to not be dealing with all the riffraff and the challenges and everything else. You want to have some help with this. So I highly recommend you leverage somebody else's hiring system,
Mhm.
and they're going to help you not waste as much time and money for sure.
And that's one of the things. Yeah, that's a great, very great point, because when you're first starting out or you're smaller, the best thing to do is learn off of others, right?
Hmm.
It's you'll walk through a company like mine, you say, wow, what a great system. You know what? Document what we do and then implement it in your own business if you start growing. I think that is a fantastic idea, Jason, for that, because you look at the biggest companies in the world. They didn't just start being the biggest companies in the world, or that it doesn't, you don't have to be the biggest, but they learned from somebody and they started implementing and they tested. You don't always get it right the first time, but
Yeah.
after a while you will hone in and get that right. So I 100% agree, whether it's with our company or anybody else. Like I said, anyone could do anything themselves. It all
Sure.
depends on what you need help with at the beginning.
Yeah, and it also depends on how long do you want to suck until you figure it out.
That's true.
Really? Like, so if you want to collapse time, I highly recommend. Because I know when I started experimenting with hiring in the Philippines, like there's just things you don't even think to ask. Like we had to ask, like, where are you accessing the internet? Is this like at a cafe, at your home? Is it reliable? What kind of computer do you have? We needed to be able to that. There's just so many little quality controls we had to implement in order to figure out if they just to filter and if they would be a good candidate. I mean, I've had team members in the Philippines with chickens going off constantly in the background and roosters crowing and like all sorts of stuff, and their internet going up and down. And so, there's a lot of quality controls that I think need to be put in place, because it's not America. We have a little bit more stability in our infrastructure and in our internet connections and everything else. And so, and then, it helps to have somebody that manages the relationship like your company, because a lot of times there's kind of in that culture, they can be a little bit shy, I think, at times, or a little bit nervous about displeasing their employer or giving honest feedback. And so they tend to ghost or disappear. People have talked about people in the Philippines doing this. And so having somebody manage that relationship as a liaison can help improve the results that you're getting from team members. But the cost savings are awesome. I mean, it's like a third to a half of what you would get, and you can get college educated people. You get people that have like lots and lots of experience and skill, and they are able to be paid very well for their area. And for you, it seems like a steal. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. I mean, you nailed it. You touched upon all of that. We make sure there's backup. We make sure there's the right internet connection, the right computer system, etc. So to your point, that is definitely something for everyone listening to this to look at,
mm,
because the vetting process, that's what I found the most tiring. When I first hired my first VA, I got it wrong a lot, to be honest with you. And I didn't ask any of those questions. And then it's kind of funny you talk about the rooster. That happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's that was before I actually owned the company. And then I started my company. That's one of the things I'm like, all right, we have to listen for, right? What's your background? What's your surrounding, right? To your
Yeah.
point. And then you start learning over time. And then the more interviews you go on, the more stuff you learn, right? You don't, like you said, you don't learn or you don't know all of this stuff until you actually go through the process. And I think it's important for you to understand if you're going to do this, know that you're going to have a lot of pain up front when you hire at the beginning, right? And then you work with a company like mine, you feel like, and you'll realize you didn't go through that pain, but then you want to go hire someone, and then you decide to then throw your hat in the ring and do this yourself 100%. Just know you're going to, the questions to ask, just like Jason said up front, those are some of the things to look at.
Based on the stuff that you said, there's a lot of property management targeted, VA companies leveraging talent in the Philippines. But it seems like one of the things you brought up that seems to be unique to what you guys do, that's different than most of the others, or maybe all of them, is the focus on client acquisition, lead gen, and on the sales side of things.
Mhm.
Most are
Yeah.
usually focused on trying to find VAs that are more like executive assistants, or that are going to do tasks and be told what to do, rather than people that you can trust to be the initial connection and face of your business.
You know what? It's interesting. Again, it's interesting you say that because I've been in this business for what 21 years, real estate investing, and we realize over time that if you don't have, you talk about acquisition and lead generation. If you don't have leads for any of our businesses, we are going to struggle to make ends meet,
Yeah.
right? So you have to figure out a way that's going to drive in leads to your business. I mean, I know for me, I'll just give you a perfect example. When I door knocked, I went door to door to door to door every
Yeah.
day from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. But when I'd go home, I would then skip, I'd get that list and I would skip trace it. Back in the day, you'd use
Mhm.
401.com, white pages, and I would
Yeah.
look for the best possible phone number for that individual. Then I would call. So when I got home,
Yeah.
I would skip trace, then I'll call until 7 at night until I had to eat dinner with the family. So, but over
Wow.
time, I was beat up. I don't
Yeah.
recommend doing that anymore. You don't have to do that anymore because you can hand over those tasks over to a virtual assistant, and they're the ones that are going to be doing the outreach for you.
Yeah.
Because, and again, I do recommend you should try it because you'll realize, open your mind and understand that outsourcing that task will really give your energy back and bring your success up. You may feel, well, I don't think anyone could do that task better than me. We all said it. I know you said it before, Jason. I've said it. We
Yeah.
all feel that way. And if you think about it, if they do 80% as good as you, that's a huge win. Now you get to do other tasks that's going to drive business and revenue to your business.
Even if they do it half as well as you, but they're
Correct.
getting, half the result, and you're able to hire 2 or 3 of them and
Yeah.
not do that work, like, it's easily time and money well spent.
It's
So,
consistency, right?
yeah.
It's all the consistency. If you have something, a task that gets done on a consistent manner, consistent basis every single day, you will get results by the end of the week.
Yeah, so what are kind of SLA, what do you sort of think are the metrics or KPIs for, an appointment setter or somebody trying to help,
Yeah.
maybe reaching out directly to owners, or maybe reaching out to schedule, I don't know, appointments with real estate agents to build referral relationships? Yeah, how many calls should they make a day if this is their full-time gig, and how many appointments do you think they should be booking
So
a
it
day?
depends. So if you have, so for instance, if you have a triple line dialer as an example, it depends if you're calling just on a on your phone and just dialing like this. But there's a lot of very very good technology out there. You have smartphone, you got Mojo Dialer, you have things like that that actually are very good. You may have a company that you refer, Jason, that you could tell everyone. But you're probably calling, if you're full time, anywhere between 400 and 600 dials using that dialer, not manual dialing. Manual dialing, you're probably going to hit about 100, 150 if you're manually dialing, and that
A day?
a day, yeah. But if you have a triple line dialer, you're going to hit on average 400 to 600. And this is just what I've seen through the years that I've been doing this.
Yeah.
You may have a technology that burns through 1,000 calls, and then you're going to be listening to me saying, "Well, Bob, you're 100% wrong." I'm just telling you what I see on a daily basis and what comes out of mine and my clients' offices.
Yeah. I think, yeah, even if they're doing it manually, if they can get 100 to 200 calls a day and get 2 appointments booked a day, like, so
It's a
they're
win.
getting roughly about 10 a week, like, that's a solid
Yeah.
result for an appointment setter.
That's a win. That's a win. You're looking at if you're looking for interested. So we call them ITSs in our office, interested to sell. I know other people call it different, but that's what we look for. Same exactly 1 to 2 per day per VA.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. And those listening, I'm sure all of you would love to have 1 or 2 appointments booked for you per day, and, that would fill up a nice little chunk of your time and help you close some deals. So, yeah.
Especially on the buy and hold side, Jason. So it's a lot easier to look at your numbers, and I know you have a formula that you guys look at to make sure the rent and what the interest rates are today, et cetera, whatever financing you have. But it is easier on the buy and hold side to fit within your buy box, right? Rather than having to go at 30 or 40 or 50 or 60% of the value when you fund it out and then try to
Mm,
resell it. So it's a different kind of mindset. So you're very, very fortunate if you're going to buy and hold. Your buy box is usually different than somebody who's either trying to wholesale or fix and flip.
got it. So, we've probably got some property management business owners listening to this, and
Yep.
for some reason, maybe they're just crazy and they have not yet worked with DoorGrow yet, but they're like, "Hey, I would like to add some doors and maybe have somebody do some calls and reach out to Bob." How could they get in touch with you, and how can they initiate a conversation?
Well, you can check us out on our all over social, of course, but REVA Global, REVA Global.com. If you have any specific questions, obviously for you, you could just reach me direct at Bob at REVA Global, REVA Global.com.
Awesome. Hey, Bob, thanks for coming on the show. Any parting words for entrepreneurs that are struggling? They've never hired an assistant yet. Even if they've built out part of their team or an entire team already, which is ludicrous to me. But what would you say to them?
Well, I would say number one, get started, of course. But number two, I would say you got to set up your processes and systems and get them done consistently. Because if you just get success here and then you stop doing it, real estate's a long game. Like I said, I started this 21 years ago, and I wish I knew what I knew now back then. I would start buying properties back then because right now I'd be retired with thousands of doors and rental income of 1,000 doors. But I started a little bit later.
Awesome. Well, hey, Bob, we appreciate you coming and hanging out with me on the Door Grow Show today, and excited to see if you help maybe some of our clients listening or some of the people. Let me know what results they get, and maybe we'll have you come back on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Cool. All right. So if you are a property management entrepreneur, you're struggling to add doors, you're struggling to figure out how to grow your business, we want to help you. We want to support you. Reach out to us at doorgrow.com. You can also join our free community at doorgrowclub.com. Go there, answer the questions. We reject 60 to 70% of the applicants. It's just for property management business owners. And if you get inside, we'll give you some free stuff. And that'll help you out and help out your business. And so that's it for today. Until next time, to our mutual growth, I'm Jason Hull, and I hope you crush it. Bye, everybody.